There he is.
Hey, Warren.
Call this meeting to order, 4 o'clock. Roll call, Dave Jordan here, Bob Letterbay here, Brett Peavy. Here, Carol Shannon.
Here.
and Offenbach. Bill. Here. Christine. Todd Buchanan here. Pete Ambrosio. And Tracy Nelson. Okay, we have a quorum.
No, you don't.
Six.
We gotta have 6. We got 6, right?
Yeah, if you have 9 regular members, you got, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But do I count even though I?
You don't count,
You
I don't count.
but
We
Bill
have-
does.
1.
You got
three,
5.
three,
5.
Oh.
That's still a quorum.
It's quorum of 9, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
By apologize.
So
Okay.
5. We got 5. We have
In
to
other
have
words, I
5.
abstain.
Because he was counting Christine and
Yeah,
Carol.
Yep.
All right, fair enough.
So we still have a quorum.
you do.
Okay. First thing up is approval of the minutes. Minutes are on the back side. Take a moment to look at them. If there's anything that you want to comment on, to change, redirect, or remember. If not. There will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Motion made by Keelan to approve the minutes, seconded by Peavy. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right. Any submissions, Tim?
Was this advertised?
Yeah. Okay, here we go with the election results and next steps.
So if you hadn't heard, it passed. 666 votes. I can tell you when I was sitting there and they closed the polls down, they said, all right, we have 666 on the tabulator. I'm like, do you have like an absentee ballot or something you can run in there? I don't like that number, but. 464 yes, 202 no, comes out to basically a 70-30 spread. 356 people voted absentee, which was about 56%, I think, off the top of my head. You know, in all in all, it was a pretty clean, straightforward day. We had a couple people called just to make sure, know where to go to vote. We talked with the crew up at Sherman Township. They had a couple of people who were adamant that they could vote because they were LIPOA members, even though they weren't registered voters here. And they obviously told they couldn't. And they're like, oh, we talked to, we were told that by the office. Which one? Well, the association office, the one on Clubhouse. It's like, no, not quite, but. But yeah, I think all in all, it was a really pretty good day. Funds will come through next year's tax billing.
Which will
So
be, what month do we get them?
July.
Yeah.
So that
So everyone,
that brings up the questions that we've talked about in a conceptual manner is, what do we fund this fall? How do we fund it? Where do we start rolling?
and how much are the funds?
So 3 mills based on our current taxable value. So when the ballot language was presented, it was off of the previous year's taxable value numbers. Based on the current value, it'll be 300,000 because we're just over 100 million for TV. Likely will go up some next year, so you might actually see a little bit more. But 300 would be the number I think you'd want to look at. on the village's side of the equation, obviously this is a council decision that they have to talk about yet, but. We have some ARPA funds left over. We have a pretty healthy fund balance that. With a 70-30 mandate, that's a pretty clear sign from our community that this is a priority that we need to focus on, that. I would think looking at some of those fund reserves would be a worthwhile discussion on our part, just to. Not even to seek the funding back next year, but just pay for it outright and get the ball rolling, quite frankly. We still have to pay for the election. I don't have a bill from the township yet. We've got the newsletter bills. I haven't got that final bill, but we did 3 newsletters. The 2 big ones, and then the third brochure one that came out right before the election. Those costs are, they're probably about $4 to $5 grand for all 3 of those combined. I think we've already paid 1. We already paid for the signs that got made that were reminding people to vote. So.
One question. Is that pretty typical for a turnout for an off election like that? Or is it even low for that? I thought it was pretty good turnout.
And so did I. I really did.
It is for enough, yeah, for summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're close to 40% turnout.
That's pretty average, isn't it?
Well, that's because we have how many registered voters?
1,711 registered voters in the village.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
How many did the Census Bureau say we have?
1,821.
So
We have 110 non-registered residents.
we only have 110 kids in the village.
Yeah.
And they don't vote yet, right?
No, they don't vote.
I mean, I got 2 of them. I mean, you got 4% of the unregistered voter kids right here in this room.
Yeah.
Let's see, I can tell you in 1 second here.
Well, that just pointing out what a travesty the numbers were by the Census Bureau.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
That's a travesty.
so here,
1,000 houses, 1,700 registered voters, but you only got 1,800 people.
Yeah.
There's a head scratcher there.
so now keep in mind that we used to conduct our own elections in September of odd years, not part of a presidential or gubernatorial election. In 2011, for a contested village council election, we had 16% turnout. 2009 was uncontested. We had a 2.7% turnout. Getting into 14. Don't have a turnout, I just have a number of votes. 16, that was the Trump year. 56.5% was voter turnout in that election. I mean, that was a presidential election and
So we did pretty well,
I think you did pretty well.
Yeah.
2018, you had 60%, that was a gubernatorial election. 2020 was a presidential election, that was a 79% turnout. And this last general election, 2022, was 68%. And in that, the interesting numbers, I think in that were you had 507 people vote yes on the combined dredging parks proposal. 464 of them showed up yesterday,
Well, I think that's a compliment to the organization that members of the community put forth and the effort that we put forth and the interest and all the meetings that we had. And I'd like to thank everybody for that. Norm's not here, but he's spearheaded a lot of this stuff. And I think that that's a testament to doing something properly, so at least people were informed and could make an informed decision and answered all the questions. And the way we rolled out many of the brochures and the information, I think was very helpful, because after those first few meetings that we had here where people were a little bit uptight about it all, it started sinking in that, no, this is, okay, this, I see what they're doing now, so. As testament to the committee's work, and I congratulate everyone on the committee for doing that. For Norm for spearheading it all. So, that's deep appreciation, and we should be happy with that.
And for doing such a good job of keeping it straight.
Yep, keeping us on task.
Yeah.
Keeping us on task.
It's honestly been a pleasure to work with you guys, and I say that, and this is sincere, that, you know, one of the drawbacks of this position in the village is we don't have a big staff, so there's not a lot of people to bounce stuff ideas on and get a lot of feedback at times, and this community did fantastic work in working together, seeing things in the same perspective as each other. And, you know, it's been a good process to be a part of. I think all of us can be proud of what was accomplished yesterday.
And seeing what we can accomplish as two organizations going in the same direction.
Yep.
Commend LIPOA also for all this. All right, so the next step. This is the point we hoped we got to, but we weren't sure what we were gonna say when we got here.
I was gonna put the packet on like, no one way, guys.
So basically what you're saying is, to get started this fall, if I understood you. To get started this fall, we're going to have to, as a village council, because we have the monetary way to do it. To float the beginning of the project, because I recall that we said we're gonna start this fall.
Yep.
Isn't that what the committee had said?
So we had
Am I
something-
right on that? So, you know?
Yeah, we hope to start.
Yeah.
Something this fall.
Do something this fall, so it'd be up to the village, has to make a decision as to how much and money that we're going to be using to be paid back when we get, or it's a year away,
Or not pay back,
or not paid back.
you know,
Yes,
I think like, oh, probably has a little bit of money. Well, companies do, because we have a late one. You know, like brain, but we do have.
you have some.
First, you gotta find out what's the scope of what we're getting into, or how much money we should spend.
That's so.
Just wait a moment. Okay.
We did the scope already, they voted on it.
Yeah, that's right,
Right there.
yes.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yes.
We have to figure out which part we need to get done. Oh.
Well, we had discussed doing the two boat launches as first as a kickoff for this, because they're not huge. And basically, you want us to get our feet wet on it. And in that comes with all of this. Just in those two, every project, if you consider each site as its own project, everyone's gonna follow the same structure. So, whatever decision that is, of course, the first thing to do is the testing. To see if we can even do it. I'm sure we'll be able to, but there is a little downtime in that period. And we had talked about even driving the sediments down to Brighton and speed the process up a little bit, but,
So what testing have we had done so far? Any? Because they had to be re-upped, or not re-upped, more extensive.
I've done the column testing, if you will, in the river.
Okay.
Not the bottom test, the base test.
They had
That's
that.
come up afterwards.
Okay,
So we have to go hit that again. John helped me with the column test and the base test in front of Peninsula. That's not the whole part of that project because the scope got so big, but gonna have to do more testing down in that area.
yeah,
When the lake's down, the river has to be tested when the lake is up so we can get to it. But as far as the bays go, we had to get the lake down to be able to walk around out there and do the tests.
So that's true of the boat launches then, is that what you're saying? The boat launches, we have to have the water down to check.
Just so we can see what we're doing.
Right,
So it sounds like the only place that we could jump right in right now with testing them would be the river, because that, you said it has to be up for the river, right?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
true, yeah. And if those are the 3 points we wanna target first,
Yeah.
whether it be this fall or the next
Yeah.
spring, the river hat will be, if it's hydraulic, the lake has to be up anyway. Which we could maybe start next summer. And I don't have a formal bid on that, but I did have the preliminary, so. From, Davin, that's what that was, a preliminary. But, we could go ahead and start at the river and, cause there's those 7 test points I had marked on the shoreline and those stakes. I've talked to some of the people that are still there, so I can go back to the same location.
You know, the thought that I would throw out for the group to think about is if we go out right now, and we can get the river test done and move forward on that permit. You know, how long it takes the state, it may be November, December before we hear back on the permit from the state, you know. But that would still feasibly be enough time. that You could go in and start and do from the boat launch south from shore. Before you bring the lake back up in the spring. With
Yeah.
something from shore, you know,
Yeah.
a long reach excavator,
Sure could.
you know. And
Um,
incrementally entering that park and working on Birch Park launch. I think would
Let
be-
me throw this
Home
little
run.
curve at you that they gave me last week. I resubmitted for it, I sent you a note on it for the drawdown permit, it expires September 23rd of this year.
Yep.
So I gave plenty of time.
Yep.
And I called Brian, and this is just a re-up.
Yep.
It's already existed.
Yep.
And I told Brian I submitted it, and I said, you know, it expires the 23rd, and, so there should be plenty of time for me to get back approved, and he kind of chuckled, and he said, well, we'll just have to see what happens. I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay, so. I don't know what the turnaround time is for the state right now, I guess is what I'm saying. If that's just to a renewal permit, and we're sending in one that has 10,000 cubic yards. That is like you were saying, it's got the red
You gotta
flag,
stay below 10.
and that's gonna pass on to Lansing. From the regional office for them to review, so that's gonna add time, I don't know what that takes.
So was his reticence because, of the time? Or was he just saying he may not get the drawdown?
I think was because of
I mean, the context is important here.
the. You know, they say bureaucracy, the red tape of permitting these days.
Okay.
And, it may, instead of them giving the stamp at the regional office, it may go to fisheries now and everybody else, even with the criteria we already have on it. They may go and review it again and add things or take things off, probably add. That's what I don't know. But I submitted it and it hasn't changed status yet. So nobody's even looked at it. They've received it, that's all I've gotten back.
And you sent that in?
Last Tuesday, week ago.
so given that, we want to get our the river tested as soon as possible then, right?
I would suggest that, and well, all sites that we wanna do in the near future, get them all in. Get
Yeah.
all the tests done.
But we can't get them done. until the wall's down.
Well, if we're very careful, probably South Park we can, cause it's kind of a sandy bottom down there. Except in the corner's not sandy. Birch is very heavily laden with, organic material, very, very sticky.
Mhm.
It's the kind that you lose a boot in. So if we have multiple, not just one person, because if you fall down, you can't get back up. Have to have a couple people go out while the water's still up, we could do that. You know, just put waders on.
Yeah.
So the lake's not all the way down. It started down, so we have a little bit of room to work with. Probably get it down maybe 2 feet. So we'd be dealing with 3 full feet of water, and we can manage that. But not when it's full, of course. But it would take, you don't want to go out there and get stuck. Basically.
Right, but so you're saying we can't do any of that until we get the drawdown permit,
So we start going
and
down.
that has not nothing happened with that. And you just submitted it and they haven't looked at it yet.
Now, our current drawdown permit's good, but only until September 23rd.
So technically, we can start drawing down to September 1st.
What?
Good idea, I like it.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I mean, one of the
Yeah.
objectives when we went back in 2012 and reopened the court order was we took out that the drawdown has to start on October 15th day.
Good, I've just kept it there.
I mean, we've done it out of practice, but there's nothing contained legally now that says we have to wait till October 15th to begin the drawdown. That's done and gone. That's out of the court order
To
now.
me, it's the sooner the better. Even if they say, oh, you can't draw down, okay, well, whoops, but we got the testing done.
What are they gonna, we start drawing down September 15th and 8 days later, what are they gonna say? Fill it back up, you know?
And go after Labor Day.
If we start to
Do
draw
Labor Day,
down,
do the big weekend and then draw down. People
If
will
we start
understand the
to draw
reason why,
down
by the way.
prior to the expiration of the permit, they said that is legal. They told me that last year. So. The issue would be getting all the watercraft off the lake.
Okay, to give people time to get the boats up.
Not to tell them.
You know, you're shutting down the lake early, so.
Yeah.
Well, but it's okay. I think people would understand if we tell them this is because we need to get this done.
We wanna get it down so we can get all the testing done.
We can get the testing
Right, I
done.
mean, that's a,
And if we start
double-edged
sending out
sword
the
on it.
idea that, hey, listen, after Labor Day, you got, 5 days, 6 days, you gotta get your boats out.
How long does it take?
Nobody's gonna be happy with that, but they're gonna be happy with the results if they see us starting to do stuff.
How long does it take to go or take it down?
I could probably go down about 2 feet in, depending on if we get rain or not, but probably go down, in about 10 days. Roughly.
Well, if you wait till the 10th. Give them enough time to get your boats out.
Well, it's an idea.
And start advertising before the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So even non-local, because non-local people that aren't paying attention
Right.
would really need to know.
You don't need to have boats on the.
Well,
If
and
you're
then the
taking on
dock
4
and
inches a
hoist
day, it's
people
18
aren't
days.
doing
It's 6
docks
weeks.
and hoists that early yet.
Best case.
Right.
Yeah, if you're taking 4 inches a day, it's 18 days to get to 6 feet. But I don't think you need to be at 6 feet to do the testing. You
No,
can be
no,
at
no.
3
Well,
feet.
we just wanna make sure we get the testing done.
Right.
Right.
And maybe even just bring it down 3 in September.
Yeah.
Well, right, right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. If I can get it down 2 feet or
Yeah.
3, somewhere in that range. Then you can get out there and move around.
yeah, it's manageable.
But
You'd have to do the river first though, before you do that, right?
For sure.
There's no way
River's
to
gotta
test
come
from a
first.
boat.
Still.
Soil test from a boat?
Hmm?
No, there's no way to soil test from a boat. Do some of the real.
You can, but that's what we tried to do down on Peninsula Drive, and it was a little bit shaky because we just have a little 12-foot rowboat, honestly.
Brent's boat's a lot bigger and much more stable. And they can go right on the swim platform in the back and then do all the testing you need to, and then just hose it off when you're done. You don't mind the dirt.
See, if we had a big flat John boat, yeah, that wouldn't be so bad, but ours is not like that. It's a little V-bottom and actually
On
almost
our pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Hmm?
The light pole pontoon boat.
in the river, yes, but I don't think I can do that. I can't take that out in the bays and be able to get it back out if we're short 3 feet water or 2 feet.
You said you can do it with a John boat?
A flat bottom,
A flat
a bigger flat,
Well, is
How big?
there a reason you couldn't,
probably 48-inch bottom. Pretty wide.
so Well,
something we could buy?
Brent, are you thinking this way? Like, why can't you
Kind
take
of
a
money
vote
we're
right now?
talking about, what,
Well,
Yeah, I wanna see what the soil testing thing looks like if we have to have something built so we can take soil samples from a boat.
well, I've got something to do with it.
You do?
Yeah, the problem is you're leaning off the side of a boat, screwing this thing in, and that side of the boat's like this.
That sounds like a young person.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's
A
the
big,
problem.
strong, young guy
He almost went.
in a red shirt.
There's somebody out there with a rope hanging the other
Well,
one.
I'll go buy a junker pontoon and we'll get one from Avalon and we'll have some. welcome
Maybe Avalon needs to donate his,
Just to get our soil.
Yeah, we can have one right in the middle of the boat, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll
like
get-
this is small.
But not,
good if the water don't move.
but not on a windy day, believe me.
Oh,
That was bad.
He almost went in when we were up there doing
A couple times.
Yeah, but we could find it. I just think that probably is an exploration point.
it. I didn't take a picture.
To do it now.
He almost went in.
I mean, there's calm mornings now.
No, the wind keeps taking you away. As you're sticking it in, you, all of a sudden the auger's
Gotta
going
hang
like
on, yeah,
this.
yeah.
And you can't keep it vertical.
I'm with Brent.
How
Is it
far
a
up
special
there you
kind
gotta
of
get
water?
George up in the river there for those?
I've got an eight, it's adjustable, yeah, it's a sleeve auger, or sand auger, I think they call
Kind of like an old fashioned ice auger with.
it. It's got blades on it.
Here's the
And with
thing,
with a steel tube, and you just screw it in, and you gotta push down to get it going, and then as you turn, it's like a drill bit, it just goes down further and further and further.
not to be frivolous, but that's part of this project money, is to have the tools to do the right job.
Correct.
Because this is not gonna be the only time we have to do this. So,
Well, the auger,
like Brent said, you go, for example, perhaps explore getting a junk pontoon that's built for this. And you put the hole in the middle and you have an auger and you be a power auger. You get 4 anchors on winches, so it stays still and you get it done, because it won't be the first time and the only time we do it.
Even 2 anchors will hold it down.
Well, the point is, we could lock it in place and get it done while the lake is up. Cause there's enough calm mornings that you can do that. or you-
George, what are the ramifications of pulling your auger through 6 foot of water or 5 foot of water? Like losing your sample.
you'll typically get water in the top of it, in the top of the sleeve, but not enough to make the bottom drop
So it
out.
could be, so any sample could be taken with full pool
Sure,
if we had the proper device to do so.
I have the,
With
I have
your
the device,
auger.
I've got the auger,
Okay.
I bought a brand new one, it's $500. It extends.
So our hesitation is based on our boat and our equipment is too small.
Yes,
And so we'll change that.
if you take that out of the
How
equation,
far offshore is your river, samples that you're making?
they're not far. Meter that wall.
My Skytrack reaches 25 to 30 feet and none of its wheels flat. And you could be in a basket.
In the water, or close.
No, I'd have to be on shore, of course,
Yeah.
but it'll reach over the water 25 feet. Past the
I
front
appreciate
tires.
it, but you can't go everywhere, you can't get everywhere where I took the
Right,
sample.
be 25 feet is the limit. And then the next thing we would, if it was impossible to do for some reason, they make straight boom equipment. I can go out 75 feet laterally, horizontally, if needed. You know, over the air.
Yeah, yeah.
And so not being in the water. Let's say the water went down and you can't get in there for some reason, and then that would be a way to accomplish it. But, I mean, I
think
don't
it's an
own,
equipment
I don't
problem.
own a straight boom 60, you know, of course, but they are acquirable.
Sure.
And if that was something that we needed for a one-time deal, you know, it's not something we wanna buy for the whole project. But it would be something that would solve a potential problem.
Probably,
Right. Correct.
probably, Queens Park, that would work. That's because you could,
Go wherever you want, set the machine down and just boom out, get out.
Yep.
And then, a 60 I've rented before, will go like almost 60 foot laterally, just like that.
Your 25 footer would be good enough for, Riviera Park.
well, no, you can't do that there because I've got backyards that are steep sloped.
Yeah, if I can't get the machine in
You
there,
can't
that's
get the
the
machine
thing.
where it's flat right there, which is only two test points, because I'm upstream from there and I'm downstream, and that's all private property.
But that sounds, that's resolvable.
Yeah, I could do that without pontoon tomorrow.
Yeah, this is all.
I'm not worried about that.
Right. And I think Brent's suggestion is well taken too.
Yeah.
We need to build that equipment, then we build the equipment. It's, you know,
Put three,
You have
four
to be
pieces of
moving.
plywood in the middle of it and cut a hole.
Are you working tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna stop in and see this thing,
Okay, it's about,
take some pictures of it.
this one's
Look at
6
the
foot
like,
tall and
pontoon
it
too,
extends.
Brent.
Yeah.
Look at their pontoon. They got one.
You could put
you can build a
build a
platform.
little bracket on the four corners of a pontoon and have yourself a 2-inch piece of pipes, 10 foot long, and you can drop that down in the four
Standard foot.
corners and you
That's
ain't
true.
gonna go nowhere, I don't care what.
That's correct.
Right,
Yeah.
And then you auger your hole.
there we go.
Good point.
That's something we might be able to add on to the Lipolis pontoon, and what would hurt if we drilled a hole in
Our
the
new
middle of that?
What if you just put a hatch in it? Build it again.
What? But I mean, a junker wouldn't,
Well, we already own a junker. It's sitting over in our yard.
No, that's a new one.
Well, I thought we still had the old one.
It's
The old one we sold, we sold,
Okay,
we got a new one last year.
yeah.
But it's still 25,
It's still, no, it's not 25, it's an 03. Yeah.
Okay, so it's 20 years old.
Well, that's not brand new then.
Well, no, but
It's,
Is that it, Tim?
You can build a hole in the middle.
Yeah, we can still do a hole in the middle and put a hatch there and to close it back in.
That's
for-
$5,000 at Lakeside Motorsports.
They'll donate that for free.
I mean, that POS right there is $5,000.
Ah.
Yeah,
There
that's
you
in
go.
That's too
Macasta.
nice.
Yeah,
That's the cheapest one I could find,
that's
guys.
what Lipolis was, and they
I'm
could.
sure.
Hey, they got pontoons, they can't, they dented or something they've taken off, you could probably buy the pontoons and build it.
Well, we
Oh,
can buy,
you use
we can buy,
flat bottom and a.
I'll handle the pontoon, I can figure that. I always just wanna see what the device looks like and if we can mount it to a boat, so you're not
Mhm.
reaching out, if it was, you know, if we can cut a hole in the floor or whatever.
and reach down instead of out. Yeah. Cause like when I did the river last year, I was laying on the front apron and reaching out over the front, which is fine. And I could get down to the water level with it, but, and it wasn't windy. But there's a couple spots that I couldn't even hit hard bottom over there, that's why I ordered a new auger.
More handle
I wanted-
extensions.
Yeah, cause this one I can extend.
Like, I'm positive I could get a pontoon chassis, just like scratch and dent pontoons that they sell for scrap metal. And we'll just have a chassis, it'll just be a deck, there won't be walls, it's not gonna be
That's
safe.
what it needs.
We'll cut a hole in the thing and we'll rig it up, we'll weld whatever we need to do just for weight testing.
Basically make it a barge.
We'll put a 5-horse motor on it.
use it for the fireworks.
Yep.
It's not big enough. You
Okay,
need
we
about,
need
you need
a
about
bigger-
6 of those to do
we need a
that.
bigger boat.
Yes, we do.
I just wanna look at your tool and see, you
Sure.
know, how we're
It
gonna have to rig it.
need to be a hole about that big.
So we have, as I hear it, we have a couple options then. We can either draw down this lake starting the 10th. And then go out there and do it conventionally, or we can put this thing together and get it done within the next 2 weeks.
Telescoping like a paint stick,
Twisted
and
it.
it's an auger about that, what's that one, the
Like
3
that,
inch?
that was a 3 inch.
3 inch. And it kind of looks like the old fashioned ice loggers that they used to be like a couple spoons down there.
Yeah, that's what it is. Spoons.
That's what it looks like,
Is it,
about that big around.
is it in a tube the whole length or is it a,
No, the tube's only about this tall.
see, that might be the thing to do is you,
Yep.
you make a long tube.
Yep.
And you put that in the lake, so you're just running that thing right through that tube to the bottom at that point in time.
Protects it then.
Yeah, and once that tube hits the ground, that'll add some stability to it as well, because you're anchored in at that point as well.
Yeah.
Well, the other problem you got is the 3 inch auger, when you get it down in the ground about 3 feet, you gotta put a little hole in that thing to get it back.
She's like coming back out.
That we could mount on like a hinge, so that it could be slid to the right depth and then just
Right,
pull the side down, pull it off back over.
right.
Yeah.
Like when you drill a well, like you can add length.
Yeah,
to it,
exactly.
too. and you pull it back up like from the center of your
Exactly,
boat.
yeah, same thought.
And he was doing tile.
The torque that we're talking about, though, is you gotta go through that, so there has to be some consideration as to how much torque you can get on it, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm talking about when you go to bring it back up.
When you go to bring it up.
You put that thing 3 foot in the ground, now you got 3 foot of column above you that you gotta put some hood on to get back.
Cause it's got
So we
suction,
got
just like your-
so get an engine puller and mount it on the boat.
Or a winch. If
Even a
the
tripod with a chain fall, something simple.
Yeah.
Even a
If you
hand
had to.
cranker, something like that to finish it off.
Just mount like a
Because what I can
winch
do
and
is-
run it over the winch line like that.
Yep.
Mount an A-frame up top with the cable and winch it up.
If you want, I can go out and in the next week or so, go to the river, and then I'll have that with me. And when we're in Birch Bay, for instance, I'll take that auger and extend it and see what it can get to.
And get back.
Yeah, and get back, and go down about 18 inches and see what I got.
The only place they need the two samples, the top and the bottom, is the river, right? Riviera? Or now it's every.
Every single one.
Every sample.
Okay,
But we already have the top at the river.
we already have the top of the river.
Already have the top at the river, and I've got top and bottom in front of Peninsula Drive. But there'll be more to take at Peninsula, so.
So what we have to do as a group is to come up with a plan of action. So what is it that we're going to do? We're going to,
I would say we need to finish the testing
Finish Riviera,
at Riviera.
that's number one.
And get the testing, say at Birch.
And-
The other boat launches.
Yeah,
and South Park.
Get the testing, because that's our three priority areas, and we've started on Peninsula.
That'll get us ahead of the game on getting submitted, but it'll also give us what we can and can't do based on the testing.
Testing is good for how many years?
Testing's good for 10.
Good for 10 years.
That's it, and that's one of the things that we had talked about as well, is we don't wanna go out and get all the permits right out of the gate, because those have a shorter window. So we can-
right,
Permits
We can
fine.
test for those 3 or 4 locations, and get that first round,
right.
Exactly.
and then next fall, identify more sites to go for round 2,
Actually, next spring.
spring, whatever.
The other thing,
You have the tests done
Yeah,
and then send them in the fall.
we gotta do is tell us what we can.
they gotta be there within 24 hours of being taken.
Oh,
If that's happening.
So. See,
so
when
how
you
long
do
is
the
the
test,
turnaround on the testing?
see, I've got the tests and I've got the test results, I should say, for Riviera. I've got the test results for Peninsula that I will attach to permits when we're ready to do those projects.
Okay.
Even though I did the test, let's say on Peninsula 3 years ago, but I didn't, they're still good for the 10 years out from that 3 years ago. So once I submit the permit, that's when the 5-year window starts for an open permit. And it closes automatic. There's no say on that.
I guess I don't understand what you mean by open permit.
When I submit, I can attach those test results when I send the permit in.
Yeah.
Because they have to go together. Then that's what will go into review. They'll have their science people look at those results and give us. They may say you can do this location here, but you can't touch this because of selenium.
So that's the 5-year.
How long does it take us to get those tests back from Peninsula?
Usually it takes about 10 days.
That's not too bad.
But
I'm just looking for the governmental monkey wrench that's.
I know.
2 weeks down the road, it's something.
And I would tend to believe that our permits will be returned probably in 90 days. They were shooting for 60 or 30, excuse me, a couple of years ago. And Whitmer was cracking the whip on that. And, just based on what Brian told me, I think if we get some of these bigger permits, especially back in 90 days, we'd be lucky. So,
So bigger, by bigger, you mean anything over 10,000?
That's a different ball of wax.
it may
Well,
be smaller than that.
what do you mean by bigger? You said bigger.
more
Of
testing.
course, we know we have more cubic yards in some of the areas,
Right.
but this isn't going out and scraping, 1,000 cubic yards, simple things.
Right.
They may have something in their mind that says 5,000. I don't know what that number would be, honestly.
Okay.
Because I think the bigger the project is, more hands or more eyes are gonna look at it.
Yeah.
And that's gonna.
More
slow
levels
down-
of
so That's
bureaucracy.
gonna slow down the process.
Well, the way we're gonna attack this, we're not doing really, it's maybe two big projects, the rest of them are little bitty bites in different areas.
Somewhat, yeah. Yeah. But I still, until they start flowing back to us, I can't tell you how quick we're gonna get a return. I really don't know.
Well, because if our priority is going to be Riviera, Birch, and South Park, we gotta get on that
Exactly.
today, this week.
If anybody had any dialogue with Wall Lake, they're doing a heck of a lot of scraping out down there, and I don't know what their procedures are. But they're doing a lot of digging out. Down in
Metro, whatever you're talking.
So next week, I'll figure out a day when I can do the bottom results from Brighton in the Riviera. When we're out, we'll go see what we can honestly feel. I'll put that auger down in Birch, and if we don't need a special pontoon for that, great. I think we still may in South Park, but it wouldn't hurt to have that in our pocket anyway, or in our
No,
toolbox.
I think that's a viable expense.
Sure.
I mean, you're gonna need more slave labor.
And then, well, I have my guys with me. Okay.
Then we're indentured servants.
Yeah. And then, see what I can reach in Birch. If we don't need a special tool for that, then I might as well go ahead and pull those too.
Yep.
While I'm there. Get it over with.
What other little small project were we gonna try to take a bite out of this fall after drought?
Outlot D is pretty small. Which is right here.
You know what I'd like to see maybe too would be,
Par is pretty small.
PAR, because PAR is going to be our,
That's your drive in and out.
great, we want
Of
to
this.
get that thing, see if that's,
See, when I say testing for Peninsula, we tested this quadrant right here. None of the rest of this, just right here in front of us.
Yeah, we didn't get too far west in there either. We gotta kind of
So
wait a little bit.
when we continue the testing, it'll be down in here and over here. And this in South Park, we can probably get with the pontoon, because that's clay. It's about 18 inches deep, it was when I was out in it. It's a clay material, it's not organic, it's like a lot of the rest of this is, so. That one probably won't be too bad.
Tim, do you have an overlay of where the old wall heads are that they capped? That we can put on this map to make sure that we're not hitting them?
Not much I could do it right here, no.
Right on the edge.
One or two on the far end. Over there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Over by the Whispering Pines. There's a couple.
Maybe. Well, I just don't wanna get a false reading either. That's their problem. That's not us, man. Those things been capped off for 60 years. Nothing lasts forever.
If they were capped. I stuffed dirt down the hole and said, that's done. Move to the next one.
They didn't use concrete?
In 1930, did they care?
We were looking at.
In 1965, did they care?
That's the best I can do for you.
Yeah.
There's one there.
Looks like there's one over, just,
Saying on shore, that's probably the one out on point.
looks like there's one west of Whispering.
There's one here that was on the point,
Oh, it is showing two there,
There's
eh?
two,
there's one there. One
that'll be
there.
right in the roadway.
Looks like there's one at the old bridge too.
Yeah.
Bridge is here.
Pretty close.
Also south of the bridge.
Checking.
Maybe bring, nothing on Riviera. Is there?
No, they actually worked on one across.
That's what I was gonna say, we usually go there.
This one here, they were out working on and recapping last year, I believe,
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Okay. Just checking.
This one here, they recapped last year, I think.
Yeah, and then one's still active over there.
George, now preliminarily, you've had a talk with Savin and where were we going to dredge the material to
That's where
on the map? I know you're in preliminary discussion.
it's gonna be pumped up, they're gonna put a lift station up here, and it's going on up, crossing underneath Robin Road Bridge and jump out on the south side of the river over to Lucky Robinson's property.
Have you followed up any talking with?
How far was that? Excuse me, just.
That was 8,600 feet, if I remember right.
Okay,
Pretty good.
yeah, it's a long way.
Mine was 6, I think.
No, 8,600 feet. Yeah, 5,000 miles. Yeah, it is. Great.
Now what it looks like,
So that's what I got.
And all you have to do is like fill that thing.
Yes, it's very bottom, it's a sleeve, looks like a spray can, it's a bigger 3 inch, what that's called. And you auger that's got blades like a spoon, you just screw it in. And you, what's difficult is
4 inch, or how big does that bottom part need to be?
the bottom of that is 3,
You got a 3 inch?
yeah, I got a 3,
Okay.
which is plenty. The 2.5, I believe it was. Or 2, whatever it was, my other one that I had borrowed was. You couldn't get the material back out of it. Cause it's in there packed so tight. And so you're trying to hold that tip, and John's holding the baggie, or I am, and we're shoving a stick in the bottom of it to get it to come out. That should work a little easier, I'm thinking, I'm hoping. But it, you know, it's got a pin, you can pull the pin and extend that top part of the shaft out and put the pin back in, so.
Well, if 3's big enough where you can get a spoon or a ladle in there and scoop it out if you have to.
If you have to.
Depending on the consistency of what we're digging.
See, it's not hard getting the column sediment out, because usually that's sand or whatever, but when you're going down, let's say we want to take 24 inches off and you're screwing it down an extra 24 inches down into the bottom. That's what really is hard to pull back out. Cause you're no longer in that washed in sediment, you're down taking it out of the solid ground. And that was pretty hard to get out of that sleeve too. That was real hard.
How deep is the column in which you're getting the sample? Cause I've seen some of them, testers have sleeves this long.
Yeah,
And
no,
they're
nothing
pulling
like
a
that.
dirt sample.
Our sleeve is about like this. We don't need anything like that.
What the column you dug through is coming.
Oh, correct. You're still going down in the hole.
way.
Right.
It's coming out as you're going down.
Whatever you dug through. That was the first one, even if you mentioned.
All bad. Okay, so as I see it. Decided that we're gonna go through the testing as quickly as possible, right? For Salt Park, Riviera and Birch.
We're gonna start at Riviera will be number 1.
Okay.
And we'll check with Birch. I imagine it's since we're just hitting that corner in south, according to our little print here. I think we can probably do that from the boat.
Or?
South Park.
South Park. South Park, the priorities, I think, would be the Riviera.
Yep.
Get that second
Yep.
test done on the.
Yep.
Do both tests in Birch, both tests in South, in Par, and maybe even D. Because like I say, even though if I don't submit those results, they're still good for 10 years.
Right, now,
So, but those are smaller ones, we can jump in and kind of clean up a little bit.
do we
in between
wanna
jobs.
consider, yeah, do we wanna consider? Let's say we get the permits back for Birch, and it's the end of September. And they say, go ahead, you can take that. Do we wanna consider getting, a large excavator in there just to at least do the boat launch, then people could still take their boats out, and you could still lower it and then finish up the project after the water was down. Just so that they could get boats in and out easier, because they're still having a hard time, right?
Well, we had all that rain, so it's brought the lake up, and that helped.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We could just go there, we don't, if the permits come back in time, we don't have to wait till October to dig out the boat launches part, at least, do we? So that people can get their boat in, then when the water goes down, we can take out the rest of the stuff that we were going to do anyway.
Birch Park is a little unusual, there's a spring or two over there, you go there, you're gonna get wet feet.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't understand why we couldn't do that, then
Scott
at least
Park
people
has
have a
got-
place to get home.
I know.
They see action is what I'm saying. They
The
see
grade,
us
they'd
doing
be
something.
working that excavator under the water and
Yeah,
you have a little trouble with that with the deep, you
They-
don't like that.
They do
There's oil in the water and there's hydraulic and grease fittings
Yeah.
on them buckets.
Yeah.
oh, I see.
They
I
don't
see.
like that in the water.
Gotcha.
It's
They don't
done
like-
over
They do it,
in our area.
they do it every time they build a bridge, but
They're allowed to.
yeah,
We're not.
they're kinda,
It's the exception, not the norm.
yeah, it's kind of. the
I got you,
exception
so it's not that
To
we
do
could
it
take.
when you don't absolutely have to, that's a little different.
It would be better if it was dry with the
Yes,
excavator,
gotcha.
than doing the mechanical.
Okay, well,
If you have, an excavator's break, I don't care how new it is, put a hole, hydraulic hose.
yeah, it's,
Oh, my God.
Did you have a mess?
Now we got.
That's a big problem there.
what are we gonna do on Birch? How are we gonna get that out of there? Have we talked? You can take a dozer across and plow it all up on the Birch Park beach and then,
Yeah, we'll have to stack it apart, let it dry, and
but how are we gonna get it to where the water was to the beach? Are we gonna use an excavator? Is that what we're talking about?
yeah, we're gonna have to.
On the north
So
side of
maybe
that.
an excavator, a dozer, and a site truck, and having people get it. Just start pushing what they can. You know, but like John says, there's springs and we're gonna find problems.
Yeah,
You know, it's big bottom and it's swamp bottom.
Birch doesn't dry out,
yeah.
Period.
so
On the north side of
they
that.
had
boat
to,
launch, it's wet
they had
all
to
the time.
reroute the spring
Okay, so that's.
away from
problem.
the boat launch when they
I
did that
got you.
2 years ago.
And let's say a long stick could sit on shore and do it from the park potentially.
We'd have to dam out that.
Some of
spring
it,
and
Some of it, and not have to go out on the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, but on one side, you're not gonna be able to get,
right.
you know.
So what you're
without-
saying is Birch is gonna be kind of a complicated challenge.
I think they all will be.
Well, if Birch
Well,
is,
some are more complicated than others.
Birch is like an 18-inch
Bye-bye.
stretch.
Yeah.
That's it, just remove about 18 inches. And that's why I think I may be able to get it from the pontoon, if I can reach it with this longer rubber. But it's wide, and that's the difference.
Yep.
It's not just right in the middle of Birch, it's spread across the whole darn bay.
Can we divert that spring a little bit to the north? You think?
And that brings in his machine.
I don't think so. I don't think you can. Cause there's two springs in there. One comes in straight from the north underneath the park, and the other one comes
We
in through the west.
wouldn't have to, we wouldn't even have to lower it.
That damn thing is juicy,
With that-
even after we
what was
drain
that
the lake,
machine
it's
called?
juicy all the time.
All
The hydraulic dredge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have to, lower it.
That's one, I think what you realistically have to do at Birch is you're gonna be building a road out from the boat ramp to get out and work back, because whatever you clear out, spring is gonna fill in. And it's gonna make it into a pond essentially where you excavate out.
Well, that's a good point.
Yes, I mean, you've got to build a stable base to get out and then bring it back in.
It actually floods the south end of our boat launch right now, right, as when it was all down, it actually runs back right over the top. Why we couldn't get it down as low as we wanted to.
And I think it would benefit us too to talk to maybe some of the players that might be bidding our projects.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, and say, okay, we wanna pick your brain, what are you thinking? You know, cause one thing I've been thinking is, you know, unknown site conditions is a big thing with contractors. We're not gonna allow it. I'm not gonna allow it because it's underwater, nobody knows,
Right.
and that's what we're going for. And then, but they'll wanna play that game and we'll have to be right up front or indirect that we're not playing that game because everything's unknown.
Well, they'll also give them a little better shot at some bidding too.
Right, right, and then it has to be bid.
Well, that's where Carter, he came out when the lake was down. So he gave us some real numbers
Mhm,
and he went out and measured it, just like Sherman and I used to do.
mhm.
So I know he gave some pretty sound numbers. I mean, I'm sure they're not perfect, but
Sure,
Who did that?
got it.
Okay.
Carter and, but he doesn't have, because he said he would have to buy some of the equipment needed to do any of this project, or to do some of this project. He's got the long reach and, you know, they can throw a bucket, whatever, but,
How much was that machine?
you know, we've gone a lot more than what I even had Carter look at. So,
Double that now.
There's like 2 or 3 for like 25-30,000 if you're a good mechanic online right now. One's sitting up in Roscommon.
well,
Yep, it's an 8-footer. Has an 8-foot head on it, and it'll go down to 18 feet.
Well, see, that's,
It's all
I'm just,
committee member being a treasurer too.
Define.
just kind of spitballing here, but you know, that would be a way to invest in the future, because this is a 6 or 7 year project with residual, you know, carryover. Every year, we're gonna have to do something.
Yep.
So would it behoove us to purchase something like that, which you didn't necessarily, you get the permit, you get everything, and all you have to do is set it up. And then go, and you don't have to wait until the water's down.
Then lease it to our contractor.
Lease it to a contractor, we don't want the crew,
Right.
we don't wanna have to, you know, follow all the OSHA rules for our governmental entity with that, and then we almost sure as hell don't wanna own that piece of equipment.
Right.
Because the dredgers are gonna be a disaster. They're like rock crushing equipment, they
They
tear
last for
themselves
a
apart.
while and then rip apart, yeah.
Tear themselves apart. And that one I have looked at for $25,000 had several re-welded components on it, which are gonna break again.
Yeah.
You know,
And the downfall on that approach is you gotta essentially close off that part of the lake you're doing. Because it
right,
operates on a pole line system. Cable system anchored at 2 points on shore.
yeah.
So that base blows off.
Yeah.
There is newer high-tech ones that don't use the cable.
Sure.
But they will cost us probably half of the money we'll collect in 10 years. They're real dredgers,
Oh, yeah.
and then their machine might not even fit on our lake.
Yeah. Good luck launching it.
What's this suction dredge look like that they're gonna use on the air?
well, have you ever seen those machines that kind of, they bore through bedrock?
Yep.
Got those
Yep.
heads on it and it
Yep.
turns like that. It's like that.
Okay.
And it has a giant vacuum hose in the middle. So it's
Giant, by giant, you mean how big?
But
An inch, 8 inch?
24.
well, you can get them bigger, of course,
Yeah,
but
they get
for what we'll be using, probably about an 8, 6 to an 8. But those heads bring that material into
Breaks
that,
it up.
and then it sucks it out. It has a, you know, like a giant vacuum. And
We're
sucks
gonna
it up.
run into any issues with,
Envision, if you will, a fish vacuum cleaner on a hose.
I would let most of the fish run away before,
Yeah, but we're probably gonna lose some of the little ones that don't get out of the way in time. We're probably gonna lose some of our big fish.
I think I'll hold that pass.
yeah, they can do it.
it's kind of like mowing your yard.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
Breaks that material on it, it sucks the water and the material bowl.
Together.
All right, so we have a plan of action.
I know a couple excavators that, I mean, obviously we talked to Mallory's. They'd be one that I would recommend, and Harshes out of Clare. You know, especially like for some of our bays and stuff, like they can bring in equipment. I'm guessing for like Birch Park, they would plank it, you know, bring in wood
Yeah.
planks. You plank it out and dig your way out and pull planks as you come out.
Louis Proton volunteered to do the bay in front of his house for free, if we get the permit. He did, talked to him. the other day.
Which part, which?
Where's he gonna put the?
Yeah.
Oils.
George's
George.
Who cares? Go ahead, all at once.
I asked him about that part, I don't think so.
I got a 3/4 ton truck, we can haul some.
That's the one thing I wouldn't wanna bring up, but once we get these spoils up on dry land, or we're gonna try to sell some of that stuff, recoup some more money.
And see, I think all that is still contingent back on the testing, because the
Right.
testing is gonna dictate where you can put this stuff and how you can deal with it. You know, all of these other plans are fun to talk about right now, but until we get the testing done
Right.
Right,
and focus in on 2 or 3 spots that we're gonna hit right away, you know, we need to focus in on these type of things right now, I think, and
well, I think we ought to use whatever means possible and spend whatever money we have to spend in order to have a testing drill dredge or whatever you wanna do, whether we can do it by hand or not, because it won't be the only time we use it.
No, we got a lot of tests to do.
Yeah.
What ton?
I think I figured out 227 tests. It was $100,000 worth of testing.
Right,
So that would just make it easier.
right.
So it doesn't seem like $2,500 to get a pontoon, to use pontoon and something. Build it out for that, it's that big a deal.
I'm sure Lakeside or somebody's got something in the backyard.
Brent knows guys.
Barge.
We're gonna get one donated here.
Pardon me?
We're gonna get one donated for use.
Cool.
It's just gonna be a deck.
We got, well, that's
Well,
all
we
you need.
It's got a little motor on it.
And some ropes to tie on. That'd be good.
I have access to outboard motors if we get desperate.
Stay
Multiple
small one.
horsepowers, multiple controls, whatever you need, probably. I got small ones and big ones.
Like a 15 horse or something.
I got 15, I got 5s, I got 4s, I
Put a
got
big tiller on it.
25.
Depending
I
on
think
our
I-
barge.
I have a 25 with a tiller.
What about, like one of those nice trolling motors where you can do like the zero lock?
Oh, an iPilot would be awesome. I don't have one of
Lock it at a
those.
Spot, and there's no anchor, it doesn't move, like it factors in the wind and GPS.
It does,
Right
iPilot
there.
works.
You can live in a foot.
How much are those anchors that the bass boat guys are using? Probably the cheapest one.
Oh, you didn't see these?
Them, yeah, just like the spots.
$3,000 a piece.
No, that's too much. That's too much. I think the pipe and the.
I got some little street sign posts, and, you know.
Yeah,
just
poles
start-
are a pretty good idea, Bill.
Couple pieces of thin wall in his sleeve.
Tim, could you look at maybe Corps Engineers dredging specs? Or see if you could find them. I'm gonna look too, to see if I can find it. You might have better access to it than me.
Yeah, I can look, I mean.
Maybe, I mean, their specs are gonna be for much bigger things, but the
Yeah.
writing of them is gonna be similar. You know, at least give us a place to start.
Can you also talk, Tim, can you talk to anybody at Wall Lake, find out what they're using and who they're doing with? What their procedures and overrun costs and things?
So just so you know, when this meeting ends, I'm on vacation till the 20th, so.
That'll give you something to do until you get back.
When I get back, absolutely.
Until you get back.
That means you can't lay around tonight.
So we have those, that's the thing, then. Let's get the testing done
Okay.
and sent in.
Should we schedule a finance committee meeting for Monday or to talk about how much of our fund balance we're gonna put towards it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
because-
next question, who's cookie jar?
Exactly,
Ours?
because
Oh,
Cause I think at this point in time, it would be an appropriate thing for us to be paying for these things. Because the millage money, if you're gonna recoup it from that or not, as I've said several times, I think we have more than enough fund balance that we should put some of that towards this project without anticipation of it being paid back. If 70% of your voters tell you that this is something they want done and they're willing to triple their taxes to do it, you need to put some of your own skin in the game. Yeah, my view.
And let that word out too.
Yeah,
Well, and that's, you know. Equipment is
Yeah.
especially a big thing,
but man,
because there's gonna be equipment every project. All right, I don't think there's any public comment. So, we need to set a meeting time. Unless there's additional comments, anybody else, we talk it out pretty good?
I just have like X's and O's questions on the,
You can come by tomorrow, I'll show it to you.
All right, meeting time, next meeting.
How when you not back till the 20th?
yeah, so I mean, 23rd, I'm not gonna have anything worthwhile to offer you guys, so 30th. If we're doing Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
Yes,
The 30th is a Wednesday?
yeah,
We should have some of the testing done by then.
And we have council on the 22nd, so we'll know then,
Then we'll be able to get money,
yeah. Out of our kitty pay,
4 o'clock PM.
sure,
On what day?
Time,
8:30,
30th, Wednesday.
30th?
yeah.
23rd.
Okay, we're on the right foot. I think we started off on the right foot. Anything else? Not, we're adjourned.
so we're meeting Monday?